The Las Vegas Sphere cost $2.3 billion. Yeah, $2.3 billion. It's the most high-tech venue on Earth, jaw-dropping visuals. Every photo goes viral. And yet, it's hemorrhaging cash. We're talking hundreds of millions in losses. How does the most Instagrammed building in Vegas fail to make money? This is a masterclass in bad math, ego-driven spending, and one mistake so obvious it hurts. Meanwhile, smaller, cheaper venues are quietly laughing all the way to the bank, while this $2.3 billion megasphere can't break even. Let's dive in. The vision that cost too much. Let's start with what the Sphere actually is. It's a 366-foot tall, 516-foot wide spherical structure covered in 1.2 million LED pucks that create a massive wraparound screen visible from miles away. Inside, there's an 18,600-seat theater with the world's highest resolution LED screen, 16K by 16K resolution. The sound system uses beamforming audio technology that can direct different sounds to different sections of the audience. The seats have haptic feedback. There are scent machines that can pump smells into the theater. It's not just a venue, it's a technological marvel. The vision came from James Dolan, the billionaire owner of Madison Square Garden Entertainment. Dolan wanted to create something that had never been done before, a venue that would redefine live entertainment. A building so spectacular that people would travel to Las Vegas specifically to experience it, and he was willing to spend whatever it took to make that happen. Guess the original budget? Yeah, a whopping $1.2 billion. You'd say that was ambitious, right? Expensive, but theoretically doable if everything went according to plan. Spoiler alert, nothing went according to plan. This was what happened. Construction started in 2018. Delays hit immediately. COVID shut down work for months. Supply chain issues drove up material costs. The technology was so cutting edge that engineers had to invent solutions as they went. Problems nobody anticipated kept appearing. Every delay cost money. Every technological challenge required more investment. Every month that passed added millions to the budget. By the time the Sphere opened in September 2023, the final cost had nearly doubled, $2.3 billion. What the hell? That's more than it cost to build SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, which is $5.5 billion. Hell, that's more than the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. This building is one of the most expensive entertainment venues ever built. And here's the problem with spending $2.3 billion on anything. You need to make that money back. The Sphere needs to generate enough revenue not just to cover its daily operating costs, which are massive, but also to pay down the construction debt, satisfy investors, and eventually turn a profit. A financial analyst named David told me the math is brutal. Let's say you financed $2 billion at 7% interest. That's $140 million per year just in interest payments, before you pay a single employee. Before you turn on a single light, you're already $140 million in the hole every year. And that's assuming you only financed part of it. MSG Entertainment funded much of it themselves, which means shareholders expect returns on that investment. The Sphere needs to generate hundreds of millions in revenue annually just to break even. And that's where the trouble starts. Because building something spectacular is one thing. Filling it with paying customers 365 days a year? That's something else entirely. But here's the kicker. The price tag wasn't even the fatal flaw. The real disaster is what they actually built. And when you see how this thing is supposed to make money, you'll understand why everyone's panicking. The revenue problem. The Sphere has exactly 3 ways to make money. 1. Ticket sales for shows inside the venue. 2. Advertising on the exterior LED screen. 3. Private events and corporate bookings. That's it. 3 revenue streams to pay back $2.3 billion. Let's start with ticket sales, because that's supposed to be the main moneymaker. The Sphere opened with U2 as its first residency. U2 played 40 shows from September 2023 to March 2024. The shows were spectacular. Reviews were incredible. Tickets sold out. By all accounts, the U2 residency was a massive success. Here's the problem. It barely made a dent in the Sphere's losses. MSG Entertainment reported a loss of $98.4 million during the quarter when U2 was performing. That's with sold-out shows and ticket prices ranging from $140 to over $500. How is that possible? Because the operating costs are insane. Running the Sphere costs an estimated $60 million to $80 million per month, maybe more. You've got utilities. Keeping 1.2 million LED pucks running 16 hours a day uses massive amounts of electricity. You've got hundreds of employees, security maintenance, insurance, marketing, content creation for the exterior screen. And here's the killer, you've got to pay the artists. U2 didn't play for free. They negotiated a massive deal. While exact numbers haven't been disclosed, industry insiders estimate U2 made $10 million to $15 million per show. For 40 shows, that's $400 million to $600 million going straight to the band. Even with sold-out crowds paying premium prices, the Sphere wasn't pocketing much profit per show after paying U2 and covering costs. A concert promoter told me the economics are backwards. Normal venues make money by hosting lots of different acts. You spread the costs across hundreds of events per year. The Sphere can't do that. It's so technologically specific that every show requires custom content creation. You can't just book a touring artist for one night. You need an extended residency to justify the production costs. That limits who can actually perform there. After U2, the Sphere booked Phish for a short residency, then a handful of other acts. But look at the calendar. There are huge gaps, weeks, sometimes months when nothing's happening inside. An empty Sphere is a Sphere losing millions per week. A venue analyst named Jennifer put it bluntly, the Sphere has 18,600 seats. To break even on operating costs alone, forget about paying back construction debt, they need to fill those seats at premium prices almost every single night. And they're not even close. Let's do the math. Say the average ticket price is $300, being generous. That's $5.58 million in revenue per sellout show. Sound like a lot? Not when your monthly operating costs are $60 million to $80 million. You'd need 10 to 14 sellout shows per month just to cover operating expenses. That's roughly 120 to 168 sellout shows per year. In its first year, the Sphere hosted nowhere near that many shows, and even when it does have shows, not all of them sell out. Not all of them command $300 average ticket prices. The revenue just isn't there. But what about that massive glowing screen everyone can't stop staring at? Surely advertising on the most eyeball-grabbing building in Las Vegas is printing money, right? Oh, you're about to see just how wrong that assumption is. Hold on for a second. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Vegas economics, kindly hit that like button and subscribe. We're diving deep into the numbers everyone else ignores. The advertising gamble. The exterior of the Sphere is a 580,000 square foot LED screen. That's definitely impossible to miss. Every tourist in Vegas takes a photo of it. Every social media post about Vegas includes it. It's become as iconic as the Strip itself in less than 2 years. And MSG Entertainment knew that would happen. They planned for it. The idea was simple. Sell advertising space on the most visible screen in America. Charge premium rates. Rotate advertisers. Print money. The Sphere's exterior has displayed ads for Formula One, for movies, for brands. Those glowing visuals of eyeballs, planets, and basketballs you've seen online, some of those are ads. But here's the problem. The revenue from exterior advertising doesn't come close to covering the costs. First, there's the content creation issue. Each display needs to be custom-made for a spherical surface. You can't just slap a regular billboard ad up there. It requires specialized production. That costs money, lots of it, and it limits how many advertisers can even participate. Second, there's regulatory issues. The Sphere's exterior screen is so bright and distracting that there were complaints about it interfering with air traffic. The FAA got involved. Clark County had to create new regulations. MSG Entertainment has to be careful about what they display and when. That limits advertising flexibility. Third, and most importantly, how do you price advertising on something that's never existed before? MSG Entertainment reportedly wanted to charge $450,000 to $650,000 per day for exterior advertising. Per day. That's $13.5 million to $19.5 million per month if you sell every single day. But brands balked at those prices. Yes, the Sphere is visible and iconic, but what's the ROI? How do you measure effectiveness? You can't track clicks or conversions like digital advertising. You can't A/B test. It's basically a really expensive billboard. And while billboards have value, they don't have $650,000 per day value, not for most brands. A marketing executive at a major brand told me they passed on advertising at the Sphere. They wanted prices comparable to a Super Bowl ad, but without the guaranteed audience. A Super Bowl ad reaches 115 million people in one night. The Sphere? Sure, a lot of people see it, but you can't quantify the actual viewership, and there's no urgency. It's just there, all the time. The novelty wears off fast. That's the fundamental problem. The Sphere's exterior is spectacular, but it's not limited inventory. It's there 24/7, 365 days a year. Limited inventory creates demand. Unlimited inventory destroys pricing power. If advertisers know they can book the Sphere next month or next year, there's no pressure to pay premium prices now. MSG Entertainment reportedly had to lower their advertising rates significantly to attract brands. Even with ads running, the revenue isn't close to what they projected. Industry estimates suggest the Sphere is bringing in maybe $3 million to $8 million per month from exterior advertising. That's nowhere near the $13.5 million to $19.5 million they were targeting. And remember, that monthly operating cost is $60 million to $80 million. Exterior advertising was supposed to be a major revenue stream. Instead, it's barely making a dent. But wait, there's still one more moneymaker left, the one that was supposed to save everything: corporate events and private bookings. Surely that's working, right? The event problem. The Sphere should be perfect for corporate events, right? Tech companies launching products, major brands hosting conferences, wealthy individuals throwing once-in-a-lifetime parties. The venue is spectacular. The technology is unmatched. It's a guaranteed wow factor. But there's a massive problem. The Sphere is terrible for most events. First, the capacity issue. 18,600 seats sounds like a lot, but corporate events rarely need that many seats. A typical product launch? Maybe 500 to 2,000 people. A corporate conference? Maybe 5,000 at most. Even major conventions rarely fill 18,600 seats. So if you're a company that needs 2,000 seats, why would you book a venue designed for 18,600? You're paying for capacity you don't need. The space feels empty. The economics don't make sense. Second, the configuration issue. The Sphere is built for one thing: immersive visual experiences. The screen wraps around the audience. The seating faces inward. That's amazing for concerts and films designed for the space. But for corporate presentations, conferences, award shows, it's awkward, inefficient, overkill. An event planner named Rachel told me she considered the Sphere for a major tech conference. In her words, "We looked at it, we toured it. It's stunning, but it's designed for entertainment, not conferences. You can't easily do breakout sessions. The stage configuration is fixed. The acoustics are optimized for music, not speeches. And the cost? Astronomical. We ended up booking the Venetian for a fraction of the price. That's the problem. Vegas has dozens of venues better suited for corporate events, and they're all cheaper. Third, the availability issue. If the Sphere is hosting a residency, it's not available for private events. You can't book U2 for 40 shows and simultaneously rent out the space for conferences. That limits how often the Sphere can even pursue corporate bookings. Fourth, the production cost issue. Remember, every event at the Sphere needs custom content for that massive wraparound screen. You can't just show PowerPoint slides on a 16K spherical display. Creating custom content costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions for something truly spectacular. Most corporate clients can't justify that expense on top of the venue rental fee. MSG Entertainment has hosted a handful of private events: the NHL Draft, the Formula One After Party, a few other high-profile occasions. But these are rare, maybe a few per year, and they're not generating anywhere near the revenue needed to offset the Sphere's losses. There are venues in Vegas that cost 1/10 what the Sphere cost to build, and they're booked solid 300+ days per year because they're flexible, affordable, and designed for actual customer needs. The Sphere is none of those things. But hold on, because what James Dolan did next is absolutely mind-blowing, and not in a good way. The expansion delusion. The Las Vegas Sphere is losing hundreds of millions of dollars. The business model clearly doesn't work. The revenue projections were wildly optimistic. Any rational business would pause, reassess, and fix the problems. Instead, MSG Entertainment announced plans to build more spheres. They wanted to build one in London. They had plans for other major cities. Abu Dhabi was mentioned, Tokyo, New York. James Dolan genuinely believed the Sphere could become a global brand, a chain of venues in every major city on Earth. The London Sphere was the most serious proposal. Plans were drawn up. A location was selected near the Olympic Park in Stratford. MSG Entertainment spent millions on planning and presentations. They pitched it to local officials. They promised economic benefits, jobs, tourism, prestige, and guess what? London said no. The project was rejected in 2023 after massive pushback from local residents and politicians. Concerns about light pollution, concerns about traffic, concerns about the environmental impact. But honestly, the real concern was probably simpler. Why would London want a venue that's losing money in Las Vegas? A London City Council member said something revealing during the debates. We need venues that serve our community, not vanity projects that look impressive in photos but can't sustain themselves economically. That one sentence captures the entire problem with the Sphere. It's a vanity project, a monument to ego, a building designed to be Instagrammed, not to make money. And once London rejected it, the enthusiasm for other Sphere locations evaporated. Abu Dhabi went quiet. Tokyo never materialized. New York was always unrealistic given space and zoning challenges. MSG Entertainment has quietly backed away from the expansion plans. They're not talking about building more spheres anymore. They're focused on trying to make the Las Vegas location work, which, based on the numbers, is proving nearly impossible. So what happens now? Can this $2.3 billion mistake ever dig itself out of the hole? Buckle up, because the options range from desperate to delusional. Let's break them down. The paths forward. Option 1. Book more shows. This is the most obvious solution. Fill the calendar. Get artists to commit to longer residencies. Reduce the gaps between bookings. But this is harder than it sounds. First, there aren't that many artists who can fill 18,600 seats for multiple shows. The pool of talent capable of sustaining a Vegas residency is limited. Second, those artists have leverage. They know the Sphere needs them more than they need the Sphere. They can demand massive paydays, which cuts into profitability. Third, content creation remains an issue. Every residency needs custom visual content designed for the Sphere's wraparound screen. That takes months of work and millions of dollars. You can't just book an artist for a week. The economics only work with extended residencies, and not every artist wants to commit to that. The Sphere needs about 200+ shows per year to approach break-even. They're not even close to that. The second option is this: to aggressively pursue corporate sponsorships. Let's look at it this way. What if the Sphere wasn't called the Sphere? What if it was the Microsoft Sphere, or the Amazon Sphere, or the Tesla Sphere? Naming rights for stadiums and venues generate huge revenue. The Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles reportedly paid $700 million over 20 years for naming rights. The Sphere could pursue a similar deal. A major tech company might pay $50 million to $100 million per year for naming rights and branding integration. That would help significantly, but it still wouldn't make the Sphere profitable on its own. It would just reduce the losses. And here's the problem. What company wants to attach their name to a venue that's publicly struggling financially? The narrative around the Sphere right now is about losses and failed projections. That's not attractive to potential sponsors. Let's consider the third option. What if they sell the Sphere? This might be the most realistic option. MSG Entertainment could sell the building to someone else and cut their losses. But who would buy it? Who wants to take on a $2.3 billion venue that's losing hundreds of millions per year? Unless someone has a radically different vision for how to use the space, or unless they're buying it for pennies on the dollar, it's hard to imagine a buyer stepping forward. Well, here is the last option the way I see it. Accept the reality and keep subsidizing it. This is probably what's actually happening. MSG Entertainment keeps pouring money into the Sphere, accepting losses year after year, hoping that eventually something changes. Maybe a technological breakthrough makes it cheaper to operate. Maybe a major artist commits to a multi-year residency fancy. Maybe advertising revenue picks up, or maybe they just write it off as a loss and use it for tax purposes while maintaining it as a prestige project. A financial analyst told me this might be the long-term play. MSG Entertainment is a profitable company overall. They own Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall, and other venues. They can afford to subsidize the Sphere indefinitely if they want to. It's a vanity project for Dolan. As long as the board doesn't revolt, it'll keep operating. So the Sphere doesn't need to be profitable. It just needs to not completely destroy the company, keeping it alive. That's the saddest business goal I've ever heard, but it might actually be the plan, the lesson in hubris. So what's the real lesson here? Why did the Sphere fail financially despite being a technological marvel? Because building something spectacular doesn't guarantee success. You also need a viable business model, realistic financial projections, operating costs that match revenue potential, flexibility to adapt to market demands. And lastly, you need multiple revenue streams that actually work. The Sphere has none of these things. The Sphere offers a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and that's the problem. Once doesn't generate recurring revenue. James Dolan wanted to build something nobody had ever seen before. He succeeded. The Sphere is truly one of a kind. It's an engineering marvel. It's visually stunning. It's unlike anything else on Earth. But he forgot the most important question: will this make money? And the answer, at least so far, is no. The Sphere is a cautionary tale about ego, about prioritizing vision over viability, about assuming that cool equals profitable. It's a $2.3 billion reminder that in business, the numbers have to work, period. So where does the Sphere go from here? Honestly, it'll probably keep operating at a loss for years. MSG Entertainment will subsidize it. They'll keep booking acts when they can. They'll keep selling exterior advertising at reduced rates. They'll keep hosting the occasional corporate event. The losses will continue. Shareholders will grumble. Financial analysts will keep writing articles about what a disaster it is. But it won't close. Not anytime soon, because closing it would be admitting failure on a spectacular scale. It would mean writing off $2.3 billion. It would be a humiliation for James Dolan and MSG Entertainment. So they'll keep it open. Keep the lights on. Keep trying to make it work. Maybe in 5 years, they'll figure out a business model that works. Maybe an artist will commit to a 5-year residency that finally generates consistent revenue. Maybe advertising rates will increase as brands see value. Maybe corporate bookings will pick up. Or maybe none of that will happen. Maybe the Sphere will just exist as a loss-making landmark, a technological showcase that never figured out how to be a business. Either way, it's not going anywhere. The building is too iconic now, too embedded in the Las Vegas skyline, too famous to tear down. It's stuck being what it is, a spectacular failure, a monument to ambition that outpaced practicality. And honestly, there's something fascinating about that, because we live in a world that celebrates bold risks, that tells entrepreneurs to think big, to ignore the doubters, to build something nobody's ever seen before. The Sphere is what happens when you do all that. And sadly, the math doesn't always work out. It's a reality check. A reminder that vision isn't enough. Execution matters. Economics matter. Business fundamentals matter. You can build the most amazing thing in the world, but if it can't pay for itself, it's just an expensive piece of art. And that's exactly what the Sphere is. A $2.3 billion art installation that happens to host concerts sometimes. It's beautiful. It's impressive. It's unforgettable. But it's not a successful business. And that's the truth nobody wanted to admit. The Las Vegas Sphere is losing money because building something spectacular doesn't guarantee profit. It's expensive to operate, limited in revenue streams, and designed for spectacle over practicality. James Dolan bet $2.3 billion that cool would equal cash. And so far, he's losing that bet. But the Sphere will survive, not because it's profitable, because it's too big, too iconic, too expensive to shut down. It'll keep glowing in the Vegas night, keep hosting occasional shows, keep bleeding money. If this breakdown opened your eyes to the economics of Vegas, kindly hit that like button and subscribe. We're diving deep into the numbers behind the spectacle, and there's so much more to uncover. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.